Thank you guys again for joining me. Mostly familiar faces here. This, so that you guys know, I am not a mental health professional. I'm not a counselor. What I do this talk on is a practical approach, things that everyone can do to impact or improve mental health in a way that drives positive physical health adaptations. So coming at this from a lens of a personal trainer and a coach and someone who can actually, I can say, without crossing boundaries that I need to maintain, I can say, hey, these are all things that can help with improving our mental health for the purpose of improving physical health, but they're not outside of the scope of what I do. So, if I didn't say it right.
Ask you a quick question. What
Sure.
are the designations MS?
Master of Science in Human Performance is what that's really referring to, and then PES is Performance Enhancement Specialist. So I threw those on there just in case.
Well, no, we all have them.
Yeah.
I don't know those. I mean, it's like
Sure.
and initials and start getting.
Yeah, that's a good question. All right. So this is the practical approach to practical approach to mental health. The things we're going to talk about: mindset, sleep, community, purpose, and how they impact our physical health. So I gave the disclaimer. This is things that you would talk about in terms of mental health in your physician or your counselor, like prescriptions if you need it, counseling or psychology, sleep analysis, supplements, meaning like, hey, exact what do I need exactly to help my brain function better. Hormone replacement therapy, another thing that you would talk about with your physician that can have profound impacts on your mental health, your cognitive health. And then pain management. Pain management is something that I do work in, but the physician is the primary person for that, and I'm a secondary provider to that. So, just so that you guys know. We're not going to talk about everything on this today, but these are just some things. We're going to talk about a practical approach. Some things that pretty much everyone has the ability to work on or improve that can and do impact our mental health. So these are just things we can do. So journaling, meditation or prayer, visualization, breath work, improving your knowledge about a subject. So one of the things I'm talking more about more recently is what we find is when we have pain, chronic pain or injury or things that are, and you could even say this chronic mental health issues, when we improve our knowledge about a subject, a lot of times our anxiety or fear about that subject decreases. It doesn't necessarily go away, but it can decrease. So knowledge is one of the ways that we can improve our confidence in relation to, let's say, our exercise, in relation to our physical health. If we can improve our knowledge, a lot of times the results of that can be a positive improvement in our mental health or physical health. So, on here, sleep, depth of connections, action and results. So what I see with a lot of people is they understand what is holding them back from better health, but they have a hard time taking action. And what often comes is if we take action and we see those results come, maybe it's better physical health, better strength, reduced pain. If we're taking action and seeing those results, now we build confidence, now our mental health improves. I have exercise in big letters here. I'm not going to quote exact studies, but in pretty much every study that it's been compared, exercise is one of the most effective things for improving our mental health. That can look differently for a lot of people, right? I know you guys pride yourselves on your walking, and that's an excellent way to get your exercise in. It's one of the things I wish more people would do more of, right? For some people, that might look like yoga. It might look like personal weightlifting. It might look like swimming. Whatever that looks like, for you, we know that is very effective at improving our mental health. It's very effective at, if we're going from 0 to no exercise that can have a profound impact on improvement of our overall mental health. So, and in some research has been shown to improve it more than even medication for mental health. All right, I wanted to give you guys a quick take home, and there's a couple of these, but some people, hey, I want to journal, I don't know exactly how to go about it, I want to do more like self-reflection. Here's just a couple of prompts for you. And that I've kind of framed within the realm of what I do, the more physical side of things. What's one thing, so for example, you can just write down to yourself, what's one thing you did with your body that required strength today? The goal of this over time, if I'm doing that regularly as a prompt, maybe I can be more reflective about being grateful for my body and grateful for the things that it can accomplish, right? Reframes, if we've had a negative perception of our body or a negative perception of ourselves, that's something that can benefit us. And it's just a prompt like that. What's one thing you're looking forward to? Again, positive framing, and what am I looking forward to? What's positive that I can anticipate? What's one thing that you aspire to? It's very similar there. And then what's one thing that you're grateful for today? So that's more in the present, drawing us to, that moment. It can be, I'm grateful I'm alive this morning. I'm grateful I could get out of bed this morning. I'm grateful that I'm waking up in a good mood. Something as simple as that. I'm going to do a quick breath work exercise with you guys. So again, I'm trying to give you, the goal of today, give you as many practical takeaways that would be outside of what you would talk about with your doctor. This is something I do with a couple of clients, depending on, particularly for stress management, and kind of if we're constantly worried about things ahead or overthinking things from behind, from our past. This is something to just kind of, the easiest thing I think we can do to center ourselves to, all right, I'm right here. I'm in this moment, I'm not thinking ahead or behind. So, if you guys can with me, so we're gonna close our eyes. Before you close your eyes, I'll show you what I'm talking about. So close your eyes, hands on waist between the hips and the ribs. So you should have a little space kind of right here between the hips and where the rib cage starts. And concentrate on expanding your lungs all the way around. So you can, sit up with your back away from the chair with this one. And what I mean by that is I should feel my lungs move forward, kind of out to the sides and back, and try and think about pushing air in those directions. So as I inhale, you see my belly kind of move forward. Nice big exhales. If I have problems pushing air back, I might lean forward a little bit so that I can feel the shirt on my back and feel that area expanding and moving. So let's go ahead and put our hands there. If you will, close your eyes. I'm gonna count us in with this. So we're gonna go ahead and breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2. One more time, breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2. Okay. Thank you guys. You were great participants there. So this is super quick, something you can do pretty much at any point. I like it for stress management. I like it for if kind of my anxiety is running away with itself and I just want to focus on the moment for a second and I need to be present. Yes, Deborah.
Why is it called breath work?
Just we're focusing on our breath. And doing something different and intentional with our breath. So I don't exactly know what it's called, breath. So that's the focus. So, and this is just one way, and it's just one example a way to use your breath to change your mentality. There's tons of them out there. You can look up different breathwork techniques. That's just one quick example. That's pseudo box. Excuse me. It's kind of a slightly altered version of what we would call box breathing. So, box breathing, like I think if I got really specific, it would be 4-second holds in between rather than the 2 seconds I was having you guys do. And at any point, people feel free to ask a question and interrupt me at any point so that I can get to it before either of us forgets. So, visualization. So just some benefits of visualization, and I'll talk through what it means here in a second. But this is essentially, if I were to ask you to visualize, hey, say I'm getting ready for either a big event or I'm getting ready for a big lift. I'll use it in the moment. Say I want to improve my overall strength. I want to go into the gym, or I've got my weights at home. I want to lift heavier than I did previous week. What we can do is we can take a moment and say, all right, I'm going to visualize what it looks like for me to successfully lift this with strength and with power and smoothness with no pain, right? That might be, let me visualize that, walk through that in my mind with that, try and see myself successfully performing it a couple of times. All right, now I'm going to go and do it. And we know that visualization helps improve. It doesn't necessarily automatically allow us to do that, right? There's lots of athletes who visualize themselves winning the trophy that don't actually win the trophy. But it does, in the long term, improve our performance. And so that's one thing that when we talk about bringing, using the mind to improve the physical health, that's one thing we can do. Visualization has been shown to be as powerful as being able to reduce our blood pressure in the moment, as visualizing a more calm, healthy body in the moment. And it can improve strength, as I said. And it takes, so hopefully some of you were kind of thinking through in your mind as I'm talking, like, all right, what would I visualize? What version of myself, what would I visualize myself doing and succeeding at? Doesn't take long to do. Moments, really. So kind of getting into part of the mental struggle or the mental battle when it comes to physical health is motivation, right? And so there are pillars that build up, our overall health. And I've started to kind of outline them over the course of this series. Is the physical, the mental, psychological, the emotional, the spiritual. Where I want you guys to focus here is sort of the bottom piece, which essentially the component is, and this is talking about, when I was talking about knowledge, this is very similar. When we build skill, when we build knowledge of anything that we're doing, that's going to lead to greater confidence doing that thing. With some of these techniques, with exercise, with your nutrition, with any activity that you enjoy doing, the more skilled you are at it, the more easily you can do it, and the more you are able to do it, that it then provides sort of a reward for you, right? So if I can exercise, if I can lift weights really well, I'm more likely to do it. I'm more likely to do it consistently, frequently. If I can, say for example, I want to be able to play pickleball really, really well. That's something I enjoy doing. The more skilled I am, the more I enjoy it, right? And the more I can enjoy it, the more I can build relationships doing it, right? If I'm not someone who wants to be seen doing it because it's not something that I am very good at, and maybe I don't have that confidence with. Now I'm not going to be talking about it with as many people. I'm probably not going to build a community around doing that thing. Susie, can I use an example of what you're into?
Go for it.
All right. So Susie and I have known each other for a long time at this point. So Susie is into quilting, right? And she may be doing that actively as we speak.
Mending at the moment.
Okay, so, but there are many friends that she has made over the years who've deepened relationships as a result of that hobby and interest. And that's something that she has, over the years, gotten quite skilled at. And I assume, as skill has increased, her confidence into talking with people and building that relationship has also increased. And so, really the key here is when we can build skill, whatever it is, no matter what task it is, if we improve our skill, we improve our confidence, now we're going to improve our ability to create relationships around those things, and that's what drives change, is the accountability that comes from relationships, the reward just of feeling connection, deep connection with one another that comes with those relationships, and the prospect of building more of them. And that's what drives these lasting results, those relationships. All right, it's not necessarily that, oh, I want to do a pull-up that gets me back in the gym every day, day in and day out. It's the fact that, you know, me and my friend are both pursuing this thing that feels a little outlandish and challenging and maybe perhaps impossible. And the bonding that comes from pursuing that together. So, or pursuing something similar together. Does that bring up any questions for anybody while we're here?
No.
Cool. Hopefully that makes sense. And it might sound, you know, in the framework of exercise, it might sound a little silly, but it is powerful, and that's where I want you guys to be thinking about. You know, the relationships we build are the things that drive those long-term changes. All right, gonna pivot here a little bit. The importance of quality sleep. For me, I'm gonna put exercise first. Recovery from hard exercise. This is something, especially my older ladies that I work with. They're workhorses. They do not stop. I have to beg them to rest sometimes. This is one of the things where, yeah, if we're not getting good quality sleep, it's one of the things we want to work on. It helps with our mental health, helps with our physical health, and it's not something that a lot of people focus on. It helps manage pain. I'm someone who I'm pretty sensitive to this. If I get 1 or 2 nights of bad sleep in a row, I'm already in pain. And I'm in pretty good shape to the point where that happens very fast for me. So, reduces injury risk or fall risk. Fall risk is a big one. 1 night of poor sleep can impact your fall risk as much as increasing it by 50% or more.
Why is that?
A lot of reasons. Coordination decreases with decreased sleep. That's just one component. Your overall reaction to, your reaction time decreases. Your ability to catch yourself, your strength overall decreases. So a couple of different reasons, but it does impact fall risk. Obviously, good quality sleep is going to improve your cognition. Your brain rests and recovers. You're going to retain things longer. And sleep's actually one of the things that reduces all-cause mortality risk. So people, if I have a client who's coming to me and especially if they're obese, and they're not sleeping well, and their blood pressure is high, for me that's the big three of we have to have a solution to the sleep issue, or those other issues are not going to get better very easily at all. And that puts them at a pretty high risk for all sorts of heart issues, strokes, things that obviously we don't want. It makes chronic disease very easy to continue if we're not getting good quality sleep. And that's hard for some people because some people that's, okay, maybe I work night shift, maybe I work a switch shift. I don't have as much control over my sleep. I'm going to talk about practical strategies for improving it. And I also know that this, as I mentioned at the very beginning, a sleep study, a sleep analysis is something that you can explore with your physician. And I would say should, if your sleep has been poor quality, poor amount for a long time.
Well, there's the big thing of sleep apnea.
Yeah.
That I have sleep apnea.
sleep strategies. Again, taking a practical approach to this. So the goal here is somewhere between 7 to 9 hours for the average adult. That's where we see the best, health outcomes, is being in that range. Too much, and that can often impact us to the point where we're dealing with depression and muscle atrophy. Those kind of come hand in hand with too much sleep. And with depression, it's kind of a chicken or the egg game, which came first, too much sleep or depression causing the need for that. Forgot where I was going with too little. So that was too much, too little. And then obviously we have some of the things that I listed is usually blood pressure is one of the first things to jump up with too little sleep. So some strategies that pretty much everybody can implement. Phones and screens down for at least an hour. Whenever we're replacing a habit like that, we want to think of replacing it, not just dropping it entirely. So I often say, if you're a reader, or if you want to be a reader, this is a good place to swap a book for a screen.
So are you saying at least down for at least an hour before you go to sleep?
Correct. Yeah. So an hour before, but you don't want your brain looking at screens, your eyes looking at screens, because it makes it harder to go to sleep, and it does cause eye strain as well. So, sleeping in a cool, dark room, as dark as it can be. Cool is a little bit subjective, but most people are finding, research is showing between like 67 and 71 degrees is kind of a range. Again, it's a little subjective, but you shouldn't feel hot going to sleep. And I will say, if hot flashes are something that are happening actively, that one thing, again, talk with your doctor about it, but hormone replacement therapy is one of the most effective ways to counteract that. Again, I'm not the person to diagnose that, but it's something that can help. Noise machine is something that can help improve sleep quality, and it can help you stay asleep and help you get to sleep faster. Lavender is a natural sleep aid. Lavender oil, so essential oils. I will talk about this one personally. So in college, I gave myself insomnia because I was pulling all-nighters every other night, basically. And then I got to the point where I couldn't sleep every other night. So I used actually almost all of these methods, including counseling, to get to the point where I could sleep again. But it took 6 months of pretty intense work to get to that point. And lavender oil is one of the things that was suggested as a treatment for me, and I think worked very well.
In what way was it used?
I would put like a roller to where I could, basically on the points where I could smell it as I'm going to sleep, and that was something that worked for me.
Calms animals too.
Yeah. It's a natural. It's a natural way to get your nervous system to just down-regulate a little bit. Whereas the same thing, so the opposite with, say, peppermint oil, is a natural stimulant. It gets our nervous system up. So just for fun, one thing that some sports teams are doing now in place of smelling salts. So it used to be sideline of games, athletes, especially professional athletes, would use smelling salts to stimulate their nervous system and get them really jazzed up. And then they could do the same thing with peppermint oil. And some teams are swapping that out, and it doesn't have the potential negative health effects of smelling salts. Right. So, and then journaling, reading can help manage stress, and that's a lot of times when I have people who are really struggling to get to sleep. A lot of times it's due to anxiety about, oh, I've got this, and this to do. What is this going to look like tomorrow or next week? And the brain just runs away with the things that we're worried about. And so kind of some of those centering prompts, maybe the breath work of journaling and talking about what am I grateful for in this moment. Even something as simple as, let me write out my to-do list so I know that I'm not forgetting anything tomorrow, right? Can be enough to help you fall asleep. So environmental factors for our mental and physical health here. Social support is one of the biggest things that indicates if somebody's making a physical health change. Social support is one of the biggest things that indicates that they're going to be successful. So for example, a spouse or a partner saying, hey, whatever you want to do, I'm behind you, I'm supportive. Even better if they'll do it with you. But just that support of, hey, you can do this, I'm behind you, we're not gonna, I'm not gonna let you fail or let you give up on it. That's one of the things that has the biggest impact on somebody succeeding in changing a habit, a lifestyle to improve their health. Layout of lifestyle, I also call this lifestyle engineering, right? Fun, fancy term, we can all be lifestyle engineers. Essentially, all right, it sounds one way, but we have structured our lives in such a way that it suits whatever we want to pursue in that moment, right? If we have work, like that's probably the first thing that we put on our schedule. And then we put things around that. When do we eat? When are we gonna sleep? What other activities am I gonna be a part of? Am I gonna be a part of a church? Am I gonna be a part of, a walking group? Am I going to go to the gym regularly? So structuring our lifestyle in such a way that it helps us achieve what we're trying to achieve, or it lends itself towards a healthier life. For the simplest way that we can do something like this, something I'm having a lot of my clients do now is just scheduling 15 to 30 minutes into their week, where that is their planning period for the week. If they're looking ahead and they're saying, all right, what the next week or two are the obstacles that are going to make it hard for me to achieve, what I'm trying to achieve. Am I traveling? Do I have family events? Are there holidays that I want to make sure that I'm thinking about so that I can prepare in advance? Do I need to get a workout on a different day? Do I need to meal plan at some point in time? Do I need to prep food at different points rather than the normal kind of routine of the week? And just being able to look ahead and have that foresight of, okay, let me lay out the week according to what the obstacles I already know are there. So something as simple as that can really help. Just a little bit of planning can go a long way. Shared cultural practices. We don't have a ton of these in the U.S. I think many people are sharing cultural practices in a religious way, but very few people are enjoying that. I'll use an example. A buddy of mine who lives in Los Angeles. He is part of a Native American tribe, and they meet kind of on a regular basis to share their cultural practices and dance, and they have a drum. There's a drum circle involved. It's pretty neat. But as I talked about before, those relationships are the things that drive. And he's a personal trainer, I should say that. So we talk about fitness, and he's able to build relationships with people in his tribe, which then also allows him to influence them and help them become more fit by just sharing time with them, building relationships with them, helping them improve their thoughts about health, fitness, wellness, that then they can go and take the knowledge that they learned from him and improve. And so having some sort of cultural grounding feature to your lifestyle, that is something that can improve relationships. And go back to that relationship building activities. I'll use a great one right across the road, or adjacent to this building, I guess here, the YMCA. So there's a great group of pickleball players over there that are more than welcoming to anyone who wants to join. They've got all ages from my age, in their 20s to people in their 80s and 90s. And just seeing that, they're all in pursuit of the same goal. They want to enjoy their time, they want to build relationships and improve their physical activity, improve their physical health as a result. And they meet, as many as 5 times a week for some of them. For those of them who have kind of built that as their like main anchor for their community activity. But then they'll do things like holiday meals and potlucks, service and celebration for different people. And so that's the idea of some of these environmental factors. When you build things into your schedule that involve your community, you build relationships, and people can kind of keep you accountable, and improves the quality of our life. So just again, some examples. Your neighbors can be a part of your community. If you go attend a church, your family, obviously, found family as well, right? Some people don't have local, family. They find the family. They make that themselves. Friends, groups with common purpose. I just got done talking with a group that up at JMU, the Lifelong Learning Institute. They have a walking group that meets regularly. I think 3 times a week. So the importance, I'm going to skip that. But the community aspect can be the most powerful component of your health. We know that we see loneliness as one of the things that impacts our mental health to some of the greatest degree. If we feel lonely, especially men, I will say, and I'm speaking to a room of mostly women, but especially men, loneliness is one of the things that impacts our mental health more so than women, on average. But that being said, everybody feels that and is impacted by that. And if we can find people to walk through life with, build relationships with that will help our mental health. It will help us pursue things that are worth pursuing, and it will help us achieve those goals in the long run. So that's why I say here, it can be a benefit. Community can be the most powerful component of your health, for better or for worse, if you avoid it. If you push away from communities that are welcoming to you, that's one thing that it can negatively impact our health. Susie, you didn't know you were getting this.
Is that why you checked to make sure I was coming today?
No. This has been on my talk. This is the 4th time I'm giving this, so I'll let you speak to this to whatever degree you want to. So Susie, like I said, Susie's been a client for a while, been a friend for a while. One of the things that I feel adopted really well early on is the power of belief. Is really the belief that I can make that next step, and that she's taken, I would say, one of the biggest hurdles life can throw at her, and really say, okay, I'm going to make this next step in my physical health, and then I'm going to believe that I can continue to do it again, right? And it's not taking these massive leaps and bounds of, I'm going to go from a wheelchair to, jumping and hurdling and competing at the Olympics. I'm going to go from, maybe not moving as well to moving a little bit better. I'm going to go from, feeling maybe less anxious or less confident about my movement quality to more confident. I'm going to go from having little or less confidence in my body to having a little bit more. And each step we put builds that confidence, builds that power of belief. And so long as you believe that you can do it, it is possible for you. I'll use another example. A gentleman, a friend of mine, who's also a personal trainer now, has been a quadriplegic twice in his life. He's now a CrossFit coach. He competes, he can move, but he traveled the world basically with the help of his dad to find a solution for his paralysis twice, and found it, and was able, really, for him, had he not had the power of belief and said, I know there's a way I can get better, I know the mind is a powerful thing. If you tell yourself you're not going to improve your health, you are not going to improve your health. But if you tell yourself there's a possibility that I can, you will probably find it. So that would be what I want you to take away from this, is just that the mind is very powerful, and that if we give it, just like the body, if I give it the tools, we talked about this with nutrition last time, if I give it the building blocks and the tools it needs to improve and to build muscle, to build up the tissues in the body, the mind is the same. If I give it the tool, the power of belief, that I can improve my health, that I can improve my strength, that I can achieve this thing I seek to pursue, then you're at least giving it a fighting chance.
Where did he find it?
I don't know. Yeah.
I'd like to speak to that briefly. I met Jackson through my daughter, and she was worried. I had just retired. I have a lifelong disability, but as I was aging, I was having more pain and more difficulty moving around. So that's how we got started. But I will say that I did not have that power of belief when we started. I trusted Jackson because I trusted my daughter. So I didn't want to just see anybody. I wanted to see someone that I had someone had some knowledge of. I'd say it took about 3 months, thereabouts, when I started to see change. And when we started, it was remote.
Yep.
Because I was living in Northern Virginia. It's remote until about 3 months ago, actually. But we would get together every sort of, 4 to 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, something like that. But I will say that I didn't start with that power of belief, but I did start with a determination that I didn't want to be retired and end up just not being able to move physically. I was, and I didn't even think of a pathway related to exercise until my daughter said, "Mom, I think that this would be something, I think you could talk to someone, and I think that you could work on it and have less pain and have more mobility," and things like that. I'm very grateful for her to start with, and then we've done all right. No, it's been a very good relationship, because I feel like I know that you have different kinds of clients, but we were able to figure some stuff out together because of my disability, but I always had the positive and encouraging, but meeting me where I was. Definitely pushing me forwards. First time he asked me to do a half meal when we were in your gym, I just looked at him and said, "I can't." And then I proceeded to do it. So there's something to say about that.
Sure. Thank you for sharing.
Sure. If you're gonna put my name up there.
Yeah. Well, I think it has a video attached of our conversation.
Does it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's the point I wanted to get across is I didn't know I could do it until I started doing it and saw myself doing it. So I just sort of said, okay, I'm just gonna try and see what happens.
Yeah.
So,
And
and that was really important, because otherwise I wouldn't have even started.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you. Oh yeah, so there's the. That's all I have on my end of things. You guys know I try and personalize these and answer as many individual questions as I can. I'm going to reiterate that I'm not a mental health professional. I know this was kind of a little all over the place with the strategies, but the goal is practical and applicable so that you can take something away today that may improve your mental and physical health as a result. Do you guys have any questions?
I'm just curious about your fees and stuff and how all that works, or is that a personalized thing?
It's kind of personalized, but we can talk afterwards if you'd like to.
So on your Facebook page, would this type of information be on your Facebook feeds or not?
I'll put this video up for access, at least on YouTube, if not on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we should follow you.
Yeah, if you want more information, Facebook's a good place to go to keep up with what I'm putting out there. that's just Jackson Lohr, Jackson Lohr. And then I have a free Facebook group as well that I put some information in. Some of the longer information goes in the group, so that people, family members don't have to just see hour-long presentations. Facebook doesn't really like that anyways. Yeah. Any other questions? No? Has anyone, yeah, sorry, Deborah.
Oh, I was just going back to where you're talking about community
Yeah,
and how important
yeah,
that is, and my experience lately, I'm part of the volunteer group with the River City Bread Basket,
yes.
which is a free client choice food bank, and just as an example, I'm just getting over some acute bronchitis, so it was 2 weeks where I couldn't go and do volunteering. And I'm not contagious or anything, I'm on my antibiotics, but not being able to go and do that and be there to help for 2 weeks made, you just feel so, even though I was at home with my spouse, cause he got sick too, so he couldn't be there, and just feeling, just missing that,
Yeah.
and that purpose. And, it's interesting, cause when I did finally go Friday, a woman crocheter, who was one of the clients, was walking through, she sees me, and she has a little car, cause it's, not in front of me, it's a free client choice, people use it. And she walks through, she has her car, she sees me, and she stops, she goes, oh, I have something for you. And she pulls out this pink crochet little bag, and she goes, this is for you. She goes, I see you here all the time, and you're always so helpful, nice and reading and whatever, and I want you to have this.
Very cool.
And she came over, and evidently, she gave one of those also to the executive director of the River City Red Basket, which is Adrian Young, she's amazing, but it just made me feel realizing how important that community being there to help in the purpose and just feeling good about it. And that was, when she did that, gave me that, I was like, wow, not unexpected.
Yeah.
And then the other thing with community too is, I don't know how many of you are avid Sunset Park, whatever, because me and my husband, Pooches, are up there a couple times a week. And it's amazing, you go up there and you walk around and you meet, every time you meet total stranger, 15, 20 minutes later, after a great conversation, total strangers. And the other night we were there talking to a couple, an hour and a half, actually ended up watching the sunset, total strangers, but you just get connected. And that community of all the people out there, and it's just amazing how that makes you feel good and just reaching out and being, whatever, it's a mutual thing. So,
Yeah.
Community is so important.
Absolutely.
We're doing that without even communicating.
Yes.
We walk the neighborhood every morning, and usually after lunch, and all we see are palms of hands and people going by waving in their cars and their air conditioning, on their heat.
Yeah.
But they'll see you out on the street somewhere and say, hey, how you doing? I don't have a clue who you are. Okay, oh yeah, I know the name. But yeah, it's helping their community.
Yeah.
Of course, it's a safe distance from me, because they're still in their cars and I don't have to deal with them. But they'll come up to us. We were at Costco, one woman just hollered across Costco, saying, hey, I was on a bus trip with you. With 40 other people. So yeah, it's not so much community for us, but it seems to be helping the community, because we're out there with them.
We had a bus driver stop, school bus driver.
Yeah.
Stopped one morning and said, this is the last day of my round, school will be over. And I just wanted to tell you how much I look forward to seeing you guys every morning. And I want you to know I worried about you when you weren't out here for a few days. And he gave us little school buses.
Oh,
Neat.
We're like, oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
You never know who you're gonna impact.
Right.
Yeah, that's what it is.
When you talk about the mental health part, for me, we enjoy the walking. We get up there every day, and we problem solve, we plan the day, we do our list making while we're walking. But I like to lift weights.
Yeah.
If I don't get my weightlifting in, I don't feel like I have those endorphins, the serotonin levels increasing. Because when I'm done, like I like to do the the weightlifting because I wanna do the weightlifting, but I like it because of how I feel when I'm done.
Yeah.
Because of that, how you feel inside and all you're all upbeat, ready to go conquer the world.
I think if I can comment on that, I love hearing that you're saying that, because one of the things that I see often is the people who need it the most tend to avoid it sometimes. And there are clients I've had in the past, people who probably if I hadn't have asked them to do it, they wouldn't have touched like a barbell or anything like that, some of the heavier weights. But when they recognize, you know, the mindset shift that is, I'm going to recognize that I can be strong and capable, so much so that, you know, the things that I see these professional athletes or collegiate athletes doing so often, I can identify with them in a similar way. Not only the endorphins, right, the natural things that change how we feel legitimately, chemically. Those are the things that are going to happen naturally, but I think that confidence from proving to yourself that you're strong, you're capable, can also impact that as well. And I think for a lot of people, that's what especially when I'm working with younger people, for the ones that I do work with, that's a big thing that I am doing. And I would say, especially for people who maybe are larger, dealing with obesity, if we can build strength, that is a thing that we can do a little easier, because they already have a little bit more muscle mass, but now they have something that they can be confident in their body about, right? And that's something that's really cool to see that switch a little bit. Did you have another comment? No. Okay. Cool. But yeah.
When you were talking about looking back, that's probably the one thing that I have thought about. I wish I had done this years ago.
Yeah.
We always walked the weightlifting.
Yeah.
We've probably done 2 years maybe.
It's, you know, best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, the next best time is today. You can't dwell on it but so much. Cool.
I got here late, so I wasn't sure what your background was again.
That's all right. I have an undergraduate degree in athletic training or sports medicine, graduate degree in human performance, which is a fancy word for exercise science, and then several other certifications that I won't bore you with, but those are the main ones.
I appreciate you talking to our community.
Absolutely, yeah, happy to. Cool. I think we're good for our recording. Shut that off.